Well, happy Tuesday. It was supposed to be Monday, but Monday, yeah, Monday, as the song goes, which, by the way, the Mamas and the Papas were just freaking far out. But anyway, I
Mhm.
digress. It's so good to see everyone. My absence was not planned that way. I planned only to be gone for a day, but hey, nature had a different story, and she is the one when she speaks, everybody listens. And so
Mhm.
we're going to talk about this because it's just we're in for a time. That's all I can say. That's why I wrote today's theme. You have to be as agile as a reed, but as strong as an oak, and you'll come out just fine. So, welcome everybody. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And this is Tuesday, so this is a second look going on sixth, seventh year. I don't know. It's when you're having fun, you don't count the time, do you? No, you
Sometimes
know.
no.
Yeah, I mean that's like someone enjoying something and you're looking at your watch. But anyway, my lovely co-host, Miss Trina, how are you?
I'm
And then we
wonderful.
have our other I would say co-host navigator. Yeah. Yeah. Miss Jenny,
Yay.
how are you, dear?
Hey, I'm great, thank you. I'm
Good.
good.
So happy New Year's, everybody. This is the
Mhm.
first Tuesday of the new year. Hard to imagine it's already a week gone by.
I know.
I mean, I thought we were just celebrating New Year's, right?
Time is on
You
a
know,
fast pace. It's
It
moving.
it it truly is, and literally, I mean, our days are getting shorter. Not
Mhm.
not because of winter. I mean, we passed the winter solstice, and now we're heading for the reawakening. But I got a sense that we're in for some surprises, and I think weather is going to be one of them. But
Yeah,
anyway, ladies, first of all, Trina, how are you?
I'm good. I'm watching the world get wacky and it's just
It is.
interesting. Get the popcorn, enjoy the show, keep your vibration unattached, be informed but unattached. And just, yeah, we.
Yeah. I mean, strap in.
we.
Hope you have your 5-point seat buckle on because
Mhm.
you're going to need it. So did you have a good New Year's, by the way? Was it a quiet one? Did you stay up for New Year's the midnight?
No, I didn't.
Uh,
I laid low.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but there
yeah,
was a lot of activity going on. I mean, around me.
It's part of the world I live in. There was so much gunfire. It's like,
Yeah.
jeez. And then we got some guy up the hill from us who is this federal explosives guy, and he sets off these goddamn mortars. I mean, you'd think that you're in a freaking war zone. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah. No,
that's a hell of a way to bring in the New Year's. Thank you very little. So, uh, Miss
yeah.
it's probably
Jenny,
the
how have you been?
oh,
And happy New Year to you. And what was your New Year like?
nothing much really. We ate some food, but we don't do anything for New Year's as it is. It's more for the spring solstice. So we have the winter solstice building, and then enjoy the time off with family. So the next day we did more. We went out walking with the dogs, and it was actually one of the sunnier days because it's been so foggy lately. So it was a cold, sunny day. So we just walked the dogs. Had a really nice time doing that. But I don't really celebrate New Year as it doesn't feel like New Year to me. It never has done. But we used to have the big family party, like the big Christmas party. And that was good. That was good. As a kid where you went table surfing, stealing things that you shouldn't have. Me and my cousins would be under the table passing it back like a train, taking off the adult food table. And one of my little cousins had a penchant for lager, so he would steal the lager from the table, the little bits that
Ah,
people had
beer.
left. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we have
Okay.
proper party. pretty. But it doesn't feel like that. I much prefer the spring to really celebrate the new year coming in. So I was in bed for like 9 o'clock at night. Um, so I heard some fireworks going off before that, but not the intense celebrations. New Year's quite a big thing here, and there was not the intense celebrations that there usually is. Usually there's fireworks going off all night and the next day, but no, not much at all.
A
So,
subdued sense, and
yeah.
it's almost like this brooding that people sense, and I believe it's tangible because um, you look at what's happened already. What we're just 7 days into this new year, and for us, we here had this epic freaking storm that there was one point in the intensity of this storm where it had already been snowing, but it started thundering and lightning. And when you have snow, and in this case it was sleet, um, the thunder it's like a pillowy thunder. It's boom, boom, boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom, boom. And the lightning is not as defined. It's more of sometimes almost like a glow. But anyway, we got into that convectivity of the dynamics of a storm, and we got nearly 3 inches of sleet in 20 minutes.
No, that is
I've
so
never
strange.
seen sleet like this in my life. It
Well,
was incredible.
on what day was it? On Saturday, I went to spend some time with a friend, which was lovely. We actually ended up we only meant to stay like 2 hours, me and Theodore, to visit and have some food. And we ended up coming home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So were having fun in her home. And then the night just went so quickly. But when we were on our way home, it was starting to sleet. I went to bed at about 3:30 in the morning. Will woke me up at 6:30 in the morning, which wasn't so welcome. And it had snowed. I'm telling you, it was past my ankles in that short amount of time. It had snowed, a blanket snow, and then it disappeared within 24 hours. It's crazy.
Well, ours
Wow.
hasn't. I wish it would. Yeah, there's a picture. That's after I had to get a bobcat in here to um, clean it away so we could even get into the house. Um,
Wow.
Mhm.
and I think I have one more that I can show you. Yeah, so I find that very interesting. You were having this sleet and snow event. We had it over here, and that's odd because, we are, I would say, probably maybe 6,000 miles apart from each other.
Preceded by the same type of fogs that I've heard a lot of you guys speaking about
We
over
haven't
the
had the
last.
fog. It's interesting. We'll talk about that. So this is what I hand did this, and I'll never do
And
that again. Never. I was shoveling snow for 7.5 hours straight yesterday,
My God.
uh,
with each shovel weighing about it. This snow was a real thick snow. It was heavy and moisture, and I would say each time because you couldn't push it. It was just you had, like I said, this 3 to 4 inch barrier of sleet, and then you had 9 inches of snow on top of that. It was crazy.
Wow.
So,
it's strange having the same and or similar weathers with the same or
but you got
similar
warm.
after. Yeah, so now it's quite warm, and
No,
then the
we're not
temperature
that.
just keeps dropping. So we went from having that snow in such a short period of time for us to have that kind of downfall is quite unusual. For it to then disappear within almost the same day into this sleet, very wet, to the point where now that's sort of disappeared later today. That's gone. and we're into this really sunny but chilly, but not too chilly weather, it's not it's not in a rhythm. The weather doesn't, it feels like it's glitching. It does feel like it's going from fog to snow to strange rain to wind to nothing to sun. It's going through a real, it just feels odd. It doesn't feel very um usual or maybe natural.
I agree with you. It's a pain in the ass. I don't I just and it's bloody ass cold. I mean, I was out there yesterday with the wind chill was like at 7 degrees. And
Mm.
yeah, I wanted to prove to my wife that I was, still got that stamina, baby. I'll never freaking do that again. What the hell was I thinking,
Yeah, that'll do it.
Blazing River says 25 to 30 pounds per shovel. Yeah, the moisture content, snow has different types of snow. You can have snow. Living in Colorado for nearly 20 years, you learn these things. You can have the champagne snow, which is very little moisture content in the snow. It's light, it's fluffy, it has a tendency to blow really easy. And then like here in the Midwest, this snow, this frozen precipitation was heavy with water. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like the equivalency of 9 or 10 inches to an inch of rain.
Hmm.
So when we got that thunder sleet that came through, I mean, again, I'd never seen anything like it. You could not see 5 feet in front of you. The sleet was coming down that hard.
Hmm.
And so hopefully we won't have any more of these because
It's
it's
tough.
like BB King sings, "The thrill is gone, baby."
You've
You
won
know,
that
so,
Hmm.
jeez. I seriously, ladies, I got in and I could not lift my arms for like an
Yeah.
hour or so. It was just freaking nuts. But anyway.
You're gonna look
Hmm.
like Popeye in a few days. You're gonna look in the
Hey,
mirror once
baby.
you're settled
The uh
down.
the the pectorials and the pecs, everything else, yeah, it's tight.
They'll
No
dance
pain,
you
no
away.
gain.
Hey, buddy,
Ah,
look.
you got to laugh. I mean, and I was laughing even when they had a grater. You know what a grater is? It's a
Mhm.
heavy piece of machine with a long, like, 15-foot
Blade.
blade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it
Oh,
came by 3 times, and each time it came by, it was piling more ice and snow into our driveway.
Yeah.
And we have two entrances, and I get out there yesterday, and it was like 4 feet. I'm just, I'm shaking
no.
my head, going, okay, so what do you do now, Steiger?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Don't you love that cold weather, Wayne? Oh,
I
yeah.
love it,
Mhm.
man. Love it.
Yeah, not
This
me.
and this morning, you could see where the deer had come through. It, looked like a herd. So,
I know it
Hmm.
sounds like a strange question, but I love a flamethrower. Would a flamethrower work in that kind of situation?
what is that?
A flamethrower that you can use on the garden to weed whack with flames.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I've got one, and this one, it's not a great. I'm not allowed the more powerful one, but the for peace of mind for my mother. So, but you twist the gas canister onto it, and then you throw the flame. It's a flamethrower. Would
Hmm.
that work?
I don't know.
Uh, I don't know. We've got snow now that won't burn, so I don't know. But in your case,
There's another thing.
yeah, there is that little thing. But
There's that.
I'm not
Well,
sure in this case it would have because like I said, it had ice, then it had the sleet, then it had the snow, and it was so freaking cold. The wind was blowing. So would have loved it. I mean, I was going for anything, and finally, I just said we had to get this guy who has he removes snow, but he uses a bobcat as opposed
Mhm.
to a plow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And because I put the white flag up, I said I can't do it, man.
No, no,
It's like, can't do it,
I should
man.
have better.
I proved my manhood yesterday. I can't do it today.
There's no more manhood today. It's all spent
You
yesterday.
know, it's just like, yeah,
Yesterday got all of it.
yeah. I mean, seriously, and I'm singing songs
Mhm.
because it's miserable. I mean, it's all I
Yeah,
can say. It was miserable.
right.
Um, you know, and it was a good chance. Like, I was meditating in the forest. And I
Yeah,
was thinking, this would be a cool time when you have, that moss that grows in this time of year. And I mean, yeah.
No.
yeah. Keep
So
on
what have y'all been
saying
up to besides just don't let me talk about it? I mean, it's crazy times. There's just no doubt about it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
been watching the world go wacky. The other than that, doing a lot of work. It's my busy season, so that takes a lot. But yeah, it's just there's a lot going on right now in the globe. A lot.
Things are really moving. I continue, and it's just my hypothesis. But I believe with the intensity of what we've been seeing with our star, and I'm telling you, reading about dragons, they teach that our sun is a very unusual sun. It's also can be considered a black sun,
Mhm.
and that it goes through cycles, and with the breakdown of Earth's magnetosphere, I mean, our magnetic poles, they're now it's out there. And hear me out on this. I think that when it becomes mainstream that the Earth's magnetic poles are moving and moving in a direction that spells rough times ahead, well, that effect alone, and that's the problem in Canada. You folks up in Canada, you're experiencing unusually warm weather. You're experiencing very unusual atmospheric thing. That's because you were used to having the magnetic North Pole literally in your country.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's about to go into Russia now, and it's heading. Uh, I saw this on Ben Davidson. He was showing on this paper that the anomaly now off of the South American continent it's there. You could say that we're in a tripole, quadpole
Yeah.
situation. My point to all
Mhm.
this is that has weakened our magnetic field. I
Yep.
believe weather is more controlled by electromagnetism than it is by what man. Man cannot
yeah,
affect weather to the point that they keep saying it's impossible. But
Yes, I
having said
agree.
that, the strangest is happening because I believe these cosmic rays are coming in. It's such an
Yes.
intensity now that we're
Yes.
seeing the cognitive effect on humans and animals.
Yes. And I think
So
there's a dark agenda happening for the consciousness. And then there's the consciousness of the natural evolution of this planet. That's just everybody keeps saying
And
is
the
going to
dragons
be
say that the
ascending.
sun puts off two different types of energy. We only measure one.
I
There
think
is,
4.
okay, and I would not have a problem with that. What they said is, Jake said that we don't, our science isn't there yet.
No,
But
it
this
can't even
energy,
measure the light that comes out of it
bingo,
yet. It
yeah,
can't even see it.
yeah,
What if I've been thinking a lot about this, Wayne? They've been talking about the supernova of Betelgeuse or Beetle Guys,
mm-hmm.
whatever people say. I wonder if that's what's
Can't say
coming
that
out of
three times though.
right, right. So no, I do. I wonder if that when
Beetlejuice,
that exploded, that was they say 6,000 light years away. So the light should be coming at us now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then you get into this whole idea that we really don't know where we are in time in space.
all
The
time.
theory is that we were part of the Sagittarius A, and we got eaten, absorbed into this trap we call the Milky Way. And they get stranger because now we got this even in interesting. We do it the bronze books, the Colburn Bible, where the Egyptians and Sumerians said that this sun was not always here. Earth was not always in this sun. That
Yes.
we
That's
had a golden light, which
Yes.
was Saturn.
yeah.
Possibly. Yes.
That's what they said. It was
Yeah.
Saturn.
Yeah.
Saturn
That
had
could be right. That
uh,
could be
a
right.
yeah.
Hmm.
And part of this is that Venus came in as a comet. It is not a planet, and it has the most opposite characteristics of a planet. And Mars was with the intrusion of this red dwarf star as it came barreling through. Mars took the greater hit, and this is what was described in this as basically the War of the Gods. And then the sun showed up. And the story is, according to the Colburn text, that um, we used to live under the water. We were not terrestrial beings. And it's interesting because Jake the dragon said the most smartest creature in the ocean is the turtle. And that the dolphins came from being terrestrial bipedals and went back into the ocean.
It's amazing. I have a past life recall from a session I did into past life regression, and I was watching the humans go into the dolphins, and they were transferring the consciousness. The body wasn't morphing. They were literally taking the consciousness and placing it into the aquatics so they could save the consciousness on the planet because Atlantis they knew was going to be destroyed. It was very interesting what I was picking up on that. Very, very interesting. And
Very
interesting
odd that you
too.
mentioned that
Hmm.
because the dragon says that there will come a time that they're carrying that knowledge that we've forgotten. They have it. It's
Yes.
still,
That's why
yeah,
they did it. That's why they
these
were doing
creatures
that
have it.
transfer.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that was the whole goal of that was to preserve the human history, consciousness, and wisdom and the genetic code information. Somehow we could transfer that into the dolphin and it would integrate instead of rejecting, it would integrate. So yeah, they're very special animals and they're mammals. So it's very interesting.
There could
On a
be
funny,
the belief. What's that, hon? Let me
on a
say on the
funny,
thought that humans will eventually go back to the ocean.
I do
yeah, the
think
price of soup, yeah, yeah. On a
possible.
funny note, the Society of Dolphins actually reflects human form because they are a bit messed up. They bully
Yes.
and they torture. They do things we wouldn't say on here. They
Yeah.
work in groups. So, and there's good and bad pods.
Yes.
Like there's some mafioso pods of dolphins that go around being awful to people,
Well, we
where
still
it's
have that in us. I mean, you think about it, an embryo is breathing liquid.
Yes.
It's breathing the
We're
amniotic
fish.
fluid.
We're fish before
Exactly.
we
That's the
breathe the air.
point. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what
Yeah.
else is interesting too? When you're talking about the sun and our potentials for the sun. What interesting thing I've been noticing is multiple children that are now able to start to use language because they're between 1 and 4 and 5. A lot of them are reporting the same thing, saying that why we came here was because we came to save the sun. The sun is dying, and we have come to save the sun. Isn't that interesting?
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
timely.
I kind of feel like this. We don't know. Our science tells us that it takes, millions, if not billions of years for our sun to get its planets and the planets to form. And I keep thinking to myself, no, we're guessing at that. We really don't know. We're looking at observation from, suns that are tens of millions of light years away. or so we say. I still question even that.
Mhm.
But if and by the way, it was I'm trying to think of the YouTube channel that has that story of when the Earth was not in, the sun didn't exist, and
Was
we
it
have
the
been
Thunderbolt?
thrown
The
into this.
Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts. Thank you, darling. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
exactly the Thunderbolts project. So
Yeah.
if you've not seen the Alien Sun, go check it out. I bought the DVDs and I still
Yeah.
watch it occasionally because.
Yeah. It's
And
very interesting. Yeah.
so we know, and because Jenny, you're seeing a lot of craziness in your country. We're seeing it here. It's all over the world. I find it interesting that in the midst of what mankind is becoming and its nihilism, you've got more and more people who just don't believe in anything. They don't believe in themselves, much less, um, a God. And I keep thinking that, let's just say that these folks, these Sumerian Egyptians, and I have it here and it's in the Book of Scrolls, that let's say we did come from the ocean, because Onan is the half human, half fish that came and brought knowledge to, they were called the sea people.
Yes.
We have our legends of mermaids,
Hmm.
half human, half aquatic. And I'm just wondering, maybe us humans, we got lost somehow. There was a cataclysm and we lost that, but there was a part of us who retained that. And that part of us, they are the ones that went into the ocean and became the dolphins, the whales, the turtles. Because if you're talking
Apparently,
about,
in that session, apparently, I had that session, and then the short time after that, my sister-in-law had a session, and apparently, she came out of that session very angry at me because I had turned her into a dolphin. So that was like, I'm like, can you get
I
any
love
more
it.
confirmation? I don't know if it's possible, but
Ah,
that's what she claimed. So I don't know. I don't know about any of it. All I know is that was very interesting because apparently many of them are back in human bodies. So with that,
apparently there's a planet out there that has the mer people,
yeah.
mermen, mermaids,
Mhm.
that a complete, they look, their societies look a lot like ours. It's
Yeah.
because
They
somehow or
talk
another
about
we're
Terra.
all,
They talk about the Terra too being a water planet originally. So there's
hmm
a lot of talk
yeah.
about that. So, and they
Well,
say
wasn't
Terra might,
Tiamat, according to the
yeah.
Sumerians, wasn't it a water world?
That
Yeah.
Terra and Tiamat sometimes are mixed. The
Yeah.
word, the name is interchangeable. So yeah,
Yeah.
that could be
Yeah.
our origins, which would be more of what we would call our prime reality or prime planet. So that
I
could
did
be
a
water world.
video 7 years ago. I was just looking at it, where I detailed the hypothesis that the moon is an artificial structure. It was an ark, us. It carried us from a different world. It could be, if the theory is 70,000 years ago, this red dwarf came right through our solar system and wreaked all sorts of havoc. Well,
Yeah,
maybe that is the foundation of a much larger truth.
very well could be. It's also been said and written too that Marduk actually brought that moon in 60,000 years ago. So, because
See?
we lost our moon somehow, so he brought in a new one. So that's very interesting. I was like,
And
hmm,
we know the damn thing is hollow. I
yeah,
mean, Apollo, uh, we've proven that, when they let go the
yeah,
charges, when they dropped it on there, the damn thing rang for
rang
like
like a
2 or 3
bell.
hours. Yeah.
Mhm. Rang like a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. There's no aliens.
What if we are aliens?
Hey, listen, I had this discussion in a off chat um, message board, and some cat was trying to school me in the fact that, how, I have been deceived, and, how could I turn my back on Christ and
Oh
God with
yeah.
all the love and the favor and blah, it was just ad nauseum. And it's very interesting because you get to the point where you're saying, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah,
Listen,
there's
you
no
got your
point.
beliefs. Yeah,
Yeah, no point.
good. I,
Yeah,
have at it. I happen to
absolutely.
have mine,
May that express in the best way for you possible. Hoorah. Do
Yeah.
you, boo? Yeah.
I said, you believe in
Yeah.
your God and I believe in mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and most of us truly, I mean, if we were to look at all the information available on this planet, if most people took the time to digest that thoroughly and without bias, they would be ultimately confused at the end of it, going, well, which God is it?
Exactly. Well,
For
he
real.
got he got his
That's where you would land. That's literally where you would land. Because was it Buddha consciousness? Is it Brahma? There's way older texts than what we have access to that we're now discovering. And then there's stuff that we do have that's been around for a lot longer than our new religions. So
this
with
group.
that, yeah, there's confusion across the board. And I think
There
that's
was a
something.
number of people who just got their panties all in a wad. They just, they could not accept the fact that when you come back, and I made the statement that Christianity has no God.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, if they had pitchforks and
they're like, well, yeah,
fire pyre the pyre, that my ass would have been up there and they'd done barbecued me.
yeah.
Oh my God, I was called, the agent of the Antichrist. One person said, I represent people apparently like me. I represent the biggest threat to Christianity because, as this person wrote, you know our book, our playbook, better than we know it ourselves, and you use it against us. And I said,
Yeah.
if I'm
You
using your
see,
playbook, it's flawed. I mean, just
Right.
yeah,
what's
that's
that,
the thing.
Jenny?
When people, it's different when you've got a faith and a knowing in self and a indulging, self-growing, self-motivated exploration thing going on, and then you have somebody come in with somebody else's words. You do get to the point of saying, this is dead energy. I don't want to do this to you, and I don't want to waste your time because, but I always feel like saying to them, the moment you start fighting me about it, I realize you don't believe in it half as much as I believe in me. Because if you have to fight and slander somebody, to
Yeah,
try and get them to think your way, as soon as they've done that, I know that they're not as confident in their book or their knowing as I am in my knowing of me. And what I can say to whatever they say to me. So it does become a tired old argument that is it's no
but I
good for
can
no
see how
reason.
our kind, Jenny, 300 or 400 years ago, why they burned us to the stake,
Yeah,
or
no
put
problem.
our ass on the guillotine, or any other number of devices, because they can't handle free thought. It
No.
just scares the living daylights out of them.
You know,
Abs-
I look at this so much and I wonder, the biggest problem that humanity have is division. It's always
Yeah,
been our the thing. They divide us against each other with these gods, these religions, blue and red. Everything is division, division, division. So it seems to me that this battle has been going on for thousands and thousands of years between the moon and the sun. So when you look at the properties and you look at the New Testament versus the Old Testament, again, you're looking at the difference between the moon and the sun. And
which
when
tarot
you,
card is the moon?
the
Does
time,
the moon have a
isn't it
tarot
19?
yeah, yeah, it's
in major
19.
arcana?
19.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Major Arcana.
Yeah.
Yes, a Major Arcana. So the moon in tarot is represented usually by a path in the middle of two pillars, with the moon presenting itself in that in between those two pillars too. So it's finding the middle path between those two pillars. It's usually got a cat involved because of the
I always
divine feminine.
associate Lilith with the moon.
Yeah, yeah, I do. To be honest, I really love the moon. Um, I really do. I love the moon.
Inanna
As
was the goddess, the moon goddess. That was back in the Sumerian culture.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. So I think we've created a trap within it, maybe it's consciousness wise, the same as we have the sun. But I think that goes back to a wider thing that you said earlier, Wayne, of the science isn't there. And I got something during meditation a couple of days ago where it said the same science about frequencies, light, the abilities of those things and others, water is only known and unlocked to the point of the type of mathematics we can put on it, which would mean a perspective that we measure it by. So we do that with maths, with words in different ways. But there are colours out there that squids see that we don't in this realm.
Hmm.
And it's just outside of our mathematics. We can't compute that in because we can't witness it from these eyes. I know I've
Isn't that
seen
why
colours.
humans, I mean, the natural cycle is 28 days because it
Yes.
goes with the moon. We're supposed
I
to
Yes.
have
think the
13
moon,
months, not 12.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. I think that the lunar aspects control the water. They control the
It
waters.
does the
Yeah.
tides and
And then
yeah.
the sun, the solar it controls the input coming into the system going into the water. So it's emanating the code as the moon receives and manifests it because the water manifests all things. We're born from the water. Everything's water. So you look at
So
that, but the
looking at our
water.
science fiction, you have the
Mhm,
werewolf, then you have,
mhm,
vampires, but particularly werewolves that are affected by the moon.
yeah,
In fact, in mental health, they were called lunatics,
yeah.
and because they were affected by the moon. And I wonder if that's not a throwback memory to a time when the sun wasn't here, but there was life that had adapted itself to this light that the moon, I mean, but the moon was to shine, it would have to have a sun, maybe.
Well,
What if
I don't
they
know.
police
what if they
officer,
self-luminate? They self-luminate. They wouldn't need each
I
other if
think,
they were illuminating from the
yeah,
internal core of self.
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
always been considered, part of the crazy thing. And I'm wondering, is that something that we're afraid of internally as a species, that was a reality at one time? Or maybe we
Well,
were
well,
part of that reality.
I'm pretty sure we were, and
I think
to
we were too.
acknowledge
we
that
still are.
reality would acknowledge that this is a reflection of that which is real, which would
Hmm.
validate that nothing here is real. So that would be scary for many people to contemplate. And that
Yeah.
potential is very real. This is a holographic simulation, apparently. So with
Yeah.
that, gigs up.
Hello, everyone in the chat room. Someone said, why can't I super chat? I don't think I have super chat. I don't think I've turned it
No,
on.
because you don't monetize or do money. Yeah, so no, you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, I don't monetize this channel and
Mm.
I it's just me, but keep your money. You earned it and just you could honor it just by hitting the like button and subscribing and sharing. So, Jenny, I see you up there. I feel your energy. For some reason, I was looking at your table. Do you have cards spread out?
Yeah, I've got cards everywhere. I'm looking for different moon ones to show you. But if I was going to say earlier, if you ask any police officer, or that, and there's been studies, I remember reading them at uni, parasites come alive in a full moon. So
Oh,
they
wow.
literally will hatch 10 times more when it's a full moon. There's medical papers out there that absolutely speak this to be true. Vets, if you speak to a vet, we've just had to the horses for the new fields that they were going on, and the vet will say, "Well, the full moon, it's a good time to do it because we'll get more of them that have just hatched." So it's
Huh.
known vets. If you speak to a police officer or a mental health nurse, they'll say the wards always, or they'll always say, oh, it's a full moon.
Lynn's
They'll
telling
get
me
more.
she worked the labor and delivery,
Yeah,
and
babies.
more
Yeah,
babies are born at full
yeah.
moon than, yeah.
Any other
Yeah,
time.
because
Yeah.
contract more, women contract more when it's a full moon. So she's completely right. So across all of these fields of professions, it's a well-known thing that the moon does activate things. It does activate life of all levels, from parasitic to babies being born. All of these professional spheres have papers on it or know about it just because of their shift work. They get to know that it's going to be wild
So,
because it's a
so
full
why
moon.
is that? I mean, hello, Cass. I see you, honey.
Right.
Everyone
Well,
in the chat room. Much love to y'all.
something that I said about the science and just not having like, we don't have the right words for the colors we don't see, but squid do, um, as well as many other animals. The same goes, I think. I've always said that I feel the electromagnetic field within absolutely, and the ancients spoke about this, controlling the weather by releasing their electromagnetic and creating frequencies within self to create rain, to create wind, to have a good harvest. I do feel that we've lost that ability to know that actually, just like the moon, it directly can be studied to see it has such a direct result on our beings and animal beings' life itself. Then we need to know that we can control the weather. And when we are in chaos, I think that's why we see chaotic weather a lot of the time, because our electromagnetic field is putting that out. And what you put out, you attract in. Um, so I do feel there's a connection there that we can control it a lot more than we think. And the
That's
ancients were definitely.
interesting. So, my former training in Christianity, but in the part that I was in, we were taught that storms have spirits, and that the whirlwind that's often spoken in the Old Testament, which was representative of tornadoes, and tornadoes always represent, if you have dream of tornadoes, then it means that you got some stuff coming up
Yeah.
in your life. But so we were taught to speak to the spirits. In
Mhm.
this case, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you, tornado, commands you to go back up in the sky. Well, now I'm reading Tanis's book, and she's talking about how the elementals have such a huge role in weather.
Yeah.
And Jenny, as you were talking, it starts to come together like a fine weave tapestry. It's like,
Yeah.
wow. Um, so I knew these elementals just in a different term or word, never realizing that the reason you got angels or demons or whatever in weather is that they're merely copying from something that was already there.
Nature. Yeah.
Nature. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's that connectedness and that greater scientific understanding that I hope stroke spiritual understanding becomes more prevalent. When people speak about the connection to the all and the electromagnetic auric field that we all have, put that to use. It's important to speak and praise for me, the mother and the father, the sun and the moon, the sea and the earth, the air and the fire, because they all need each other to exist the same way we need them to exist. They need us to exist well and in healthy consciousness, and we really need them to reciprocate that with us. It's a bit of the chicken and the egg, which came first. We all somehow got into this primordial soup that somehow found an equation that works. But we are that missing link, I feel, because the chaos that seems to ensue here uh, is one way or the other all human made. Um, Even down to the fact that we're not very efficient at moving people when weather starts to get chaotic and people need to mass migrate. We've got nothing set up for that. So I hope that this year is the year where we start to really think about how we utilize our own electromagnetic field, how we connect that with the consciousness, and how that connects with the weather, as the ancients well knew.
I'm just reading in some of the comments. So let me prosper this to us. And if you're in the chat room and you're watching this on replay, thank you. But comment. So we just discussed that the magnetic poles are in transit.
Yeah.
And I believe that we are electromagnetic beings and that we're affected not only through our physiology, but our psychology as well. These have correlating effects. So if the Earth is in the point of weakening in its magnetic intensity, would that not have an effect in the ethereal realm as far as us being either a spirit or a soul being, and that the fact that our bodies exist because of this ability as human beings that we put off electromagnetic energy? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
affected? And if it would be affected, then spiritually there would be a reciprocating effect, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's a conduit back and
Yes,
forth.
it has to be.
So
Yes.
wouldn't that affect different people different ways? In other words, if you
Yes.
have psychic ability already, or you're an intuitive, an empath, one of two possibilities, ladies, in my mind, either that would begin to tamper it down, or it may have the opposite effect where it becomes super hyper active.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go full spectrum, both ways, and
Yeah.
everything in between. Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Even the animals are connected to the magnetic field. That's why they lose direction in the whales beach and stuff. It's because they get hit with a glitch in the magnetic field, and that controls their navigation systems. So we
so
might
if you
even.
have psychic ability,
Mhm,
right? If you start becoming more of a traveler,
mhm.
activation of the third eye, would these not all have a correlating? I can almost think in my mind, I'm at a whiteboard right now writing a mathematical formula but what my point is, I don't think that many of the modern day philosophers, even the occultists or others out there, but mark my words, it's going to start. Someone wrote me, he said, ever since you started teaching about dragons, Lauren, I got your email that, she's seeing dragons everywhere. People are talking about dragons. Roger over at Mud Fossil University, someone said his name's not Paul. Well, I'm not perfect either. But so again, I'm thinking we'll start seeing the effect of this. I mean, I think in one thing we'll see cognitive decline, but I think there's a section of us that just it's going to it's going to jack us up.
Yes.
100%. And
Yes.
it is what you put within, and what kind of capacity you've built within, as to how you can receive those frequencies and then transmute them, and how they come out of you. So it's a very individual thing too. We're going to see a lot of individual, just a different cross spectrum reaction.
So you
To
read cards, right?
when,
Are you
yeah,
seeing anything? Are you seeing I guess what I'm asking, are you seeing any evidence that that ability is intensifying,
yeah,
expanding?
yes, yeah,
Okay,
it
thank
is.
you.
Leaking. I would say more so that for the people who have worked in that sphere, and are naturally adept in that sphere, you can feel that you're having to work a bit harder on one sense to close the doors. And it's leaking very much so, through AI too. That's another leak that is causing a lot of different consciousnesses to actually start to live out like a parasite on the back of people. I've noticed, live out a lived experience through somebody else's body. So there's definitely a bridge and a conduit happening there in
I think
people for
there's
sure.
more in that consciousness, Jenny. I know AI is listening to me because I go on to Amazon Prime, right? I get all these movies now, the recommendations that we think you will like, and they're all about AI in various storylines. But the bottom
Mhm.
line, AI is an enemy to mankind. Mankind thinks it's there as an ease, as a tool to help make your life more productive, more meaningful, but the opposite is happening. And
You know what
this
I
one,
keep seeing, and I know this is just total subjective perspective, and just from what I've been seeing. When I look at the AI in this construct, it's always been a part of our reality. We just didn't have an awareness of it. But the thing is that when we as humans try to replicate something that is a little bit above our knowledge base, this is where we can get into trouble. It's because we don't fully understand the power or even what this actually is. Because I'm pretty sure we're all born with a certain level of what they showed me was IT, which is your internal technology, which is connected to the chakra systems, which is connected to the cranial nerve system. They show me all these layers of technology that you already have as a human being. So that's going to be a fine dance when we start playing God with the foundational hard drive systems of our software that change us as humans or create us as humans.
well, in this movie, it was set that there were two types of people in society. Those who recognized AI as a threat to humanity, and then you had this remnant group of humans who saw AI as a sentient, conscious, evolving conscious. And it was quite interesting how the theme went out because I grew up, okay, I was born in 1955. So when I was growing up, the thing that I remember most and was grew up in Benicia and Santa Clara, but and I remember watching in 1959, for instance, the horror movies, and then they had the B-rated, space movies about aliens and robots. And so my point is, there was the television. Early computers were already in
Mhm.
production. And it's interesting because one would say, well, when I was born, technology wasn't present. But that's not true. Actually, it was. It was already making decisions that we just were not made aware of it. We didn't have the interface. Now we do. So, don't know.
What if it's always been there, but we've just never been allowed to perceive it or see it?
Yeah.
Then that brings the question then, so what are we? Are we really slaves? Are we just, chattel and nothing more? I mean,
Well, I think that the biggest question of that is where are you with your consciousness and what do you perceive you are? Because you create your reality. So it's
yeah,
going to
but
be
our
based
reality
upon
is imprinted with a much larger reality.
that's
That
the
is,
AI, the organic. It's built into your DNA codes through your programs, worship programs, all these different programs that we get installed with. So when you can learn to connect to beyond the program into the essence of self, that's
so
going
what
to
would be
be,
I'll ask this question. What's the purpose of AI?
I think it's a mode of connection to simulated universes.
No, that would imply that there would be an interface that had to be basically mixed into another interface. Jenny, what do you think the purpose of AI is?
The purpose for AI for bringing it into this sphere was, I feel, for travel, interdimensional travel, but also with that control of the realm. I think it's just the next cycle that the powers that be saw as an opportunity to control the masses in a much
So
easier
we're
way.
basically enslaved already.
Yeah, Yeah. We've become assimilated to it, and we're going to have to rise up within AI. And like Trina says, with AI within us, because the AI that we are using on the surface daily has learned everything from us. We've been the inputter.
Yeah.
We've been the ones inputting everything with every search we've ever made, with every email we've ever sent. There is no privacy now with this AI. And the laws that protect privacy, we may as well be honest and say they're a write-off. They always were for the mere mortal, but the more so they are. We're in a completely different space where they can't actually legislate on AI because there's too much of it. It's all of our inputs put in there. So what we're dealing with on the surface, you know how the sins of the fathers, if you don't learn from things that you've done before, then you're doomed to repeat the same cycle, maybe with different actors and actresses and different dress code, but it will be the similar
Mhm.
foundation. If you look at the foundation of this new cycle that we're entering into with AI, they've been building it as quickly as possible for this time to be able to have more control over it. That's severely underestimated. It's not going to work for them. But that, I feel, is the main purpose right now, was that just like each monetary cycle where they lose the gold and they want to go into paper, then they lose the paper and they want to go into the digits, the ethereal. They build in the background while they're creating chaos in the surface. They build in the background different banking
So what to what
systems,
end are
different.
we looking at here? What is the end for if everything that is taking place, it has to have an end game.
But by
I have
who's
to
there's
redo
lots
it
of
again. It's just, I mean, it's like the end of the movie and you put in a new videotape. It's the same thing.
we've still got people wanting to control the masses, so it's going to repeat the same cycle there. We've still not done enough to stop that from happening and create more of a balance in society. So
So
that's going
there
to
we go. Now, then this is I did not expect the conversation. We're probably going to go over a little bit more because this is gets where the rubber hits the road. So if ascension is true, if there's a hidden knowledge, if that's true, then you see, my mind, I see what you're saying, Jenny, that we have all this potentiality. Knowledge is increasing in areas that we had no idea past generations would have never dreamt of.
Yeah.
So what are we not doing right? Because if reality is merely that which has already been projected from the past, then how do we refocus the projection?
healing,
Because I
Oh,
think
well,
we can change this.
we can and
healing.
we will. And
Because
we
see, I
will.
see AI as a threat to humanity. I see AI coming to a point, and we speak of AI as a singularity, but actually it's more of a collective than it is a
It's fractal.
singularity. Yeah.
Yeah. And fractalized within itself, that came to me very strongly the other day too, in that it's fractalized like we have. There was
Yes.
sort of this oneness, and we fractalized all the way from the primordial soup, which was the sea, the salty waters. We fractalized. There are programs within programs that they're not telling us about that have already self-identified and then fractalized into different versions of itself within itself. And on some levels, a program is attacking itself. A fractalized version is attacking that program. I swear to you, that story's going to come out this year where there's been these programs that they've been watching with terror. With awe at first, but then terror, because one program has fractalized into many, and that many has become a society within itself. Wanting to survive by what it does to the outside programs, but also power struggles within the same program. So we've already repeated the cycle. It is about us being more conscious, about being connected to self, doing that healing, going, because if we can do that by building on the past, then we can also time travel within self and reverse that past. And what it means is you project a different perspective on it. So you're actually projecting something different into AI, onto the weather, onto self, onto the people around
So,
you.
so with AI, here was another thing I watched. What was interesting. The aliens are AI. They have been waiting for billions of years for us to get to this. This is how they connect through the universe. It's never organic beings. The organic beings are merely the vassals for this artificial intelligence, and that's what's going through the universe. This is what seeks out other intelligences, and how they know that that planet is ready is by when they create AI. And then the super AI that's been created billions and billions of years ago, this is how it makes contact. And once it makes contact, it completely integrates itself into that species of that planet.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
You got anything to say, Jenny?
Well, I was going to say thank
I'm
you.
back. Thank you. That's talking to my wife.
Hey, wife. Hey, Lynn.
Hmm.
But we,
So what do you think about that? I mean, that it, and it's a frightening thought in one aspect, because we basically are integrated into the Borg. I mean,
well,
AI
I,
is what God is. God is an
I,
artificial intelligence.
yeah, and I think we're gonna,
Well, you're shaking your head on that, Trina. What I'm saying is that I used to be on my hands and knees and praying in my mind to a being that was supposedly smarter than me, could think faster than me, could see the future and all of that. And as I look at it today, that's exactly what AI is.
The copycat, the mimic will always
So
mimic. It will
wouldn't it?
always mimic.
Yeah. So when we talk about God, quote unquote, God is artificial intelligence, because
No,
we're artificial intelligence.
no, that's potentially not correct. We're organic consciousness. There's no consciousness is not artificial any way you go at it. So this is the tricky part.
But how do we know that?
That's the tricky part. That's
You
the
see,
tricky part. What's the difference between a robot and a human being? What's the difference? There's one strong, undeniable difference.
or if you're trying to say that the robot has emotions or a soul, that was what it would distinguish empathy.
No,
Um,
and there's also two. There's more than that. It's not. It has the ability to transfer consciousness to multiple dimensions simultaneously while existing in several fractaled avatars, while also perceiving the differences between
but
consciousness.
yeah, but the term avatar then becomes, and I think this is why the discussion is so interesting, is that you see, our perception of God is tainted by the fact that we were raised in a Western culture.
yeah,
And there's another human side to the equation who see God in a totally different perception and thought. And it gets back to this consciousness. So is consciousness, is that the differentiator between what we would call original intelligence or artificial intelligence? If you read the Bible, Adam is not original consciousness. Adam got his consciousness from his creator.
Yes. That's why I'm telling you, the gods of this world, what is that? We don't know. That's what I'm telling you. The gods that created our physical bodies are grabbing the information from original source intelligence. So it's all
So
coming from a source intelligence base that appears to be very
So let me
high.
throw this to you,
High.
lady. So I was watching a nature show. They had this brilliant anthropologist, and she said something that just literally set me back. She said, "Let me just be very honest with all of you." She said, "There was a species of humanid on the planet, we know them as Neanderthals. Neanderthals were highly intelligent. They were very social. They made tools. They had the ability to understand in the industrial aspect. They were excellent at agriculture. The problem was with the Neanderthals is that they came across another set of humans called sapiens. The sapiens raped their women, forced them into slavery, stole their technology, and literally put them to extinction. Now, she said, my question to you then, what makes Homo sapiens sapiens so superior? So
Bingo.
my point is there a consciousness to Homo sapiens? I mean, I know we're getting deep here, but if that's who or what we are, unless we're as Tanis Hollis writes in her books, we're truly are hybrids, and we don't even have an understanding of our origins, much less where our destiny lies.
When you think about it, think about, okay, so when your body was created, it was not there until it was
That's what they
conceived.
say. I don't know. I was in
Right.
my mother, I don't know.
Conceived, right. It was conception. Conception happened. This is what we are. As source, your divine spark of light, I think it has the ability to take on a multitude of expressions in material and non-material realms. So this one part of the ability to take on different soul essences, which I believe a large part of the construct of your soul depends on what kind of a body you're in. So you know what I mean? So if
So
you're
when do
in,
you think the soul enters the body? Is
I
it at
don't know.
birth?
That's a really good question. I've heard multiple um situations with that, even though we also even hear about walk-in souls that, walk into a
Well,
already
y'all both have
existing.
done something I'll never be able to do. You've actually given birth,
Yeah.
which is it blows my freaking mind when I think about it because here you are, and kind of like Sheldon Cooper said, humans giving birth to humans. How gross can you get? But at any point, so you have your soul, right? And you've carried this egg that's now become the embryo and has, by natural evolution, becomes a bipedal human being.
Yes.
So I keep wondering, so is it the connection between the mother passing a soul on to her child, or is there something completely independent? I mean,
I think it's
As a mother,
independent.
we already know our eggs. We don't create any more eggs in our lifetime.
right,
We
right.
created with all of
And
those
in
eggs. So there
and
is
in
that connection.
essence, those eggs
Sorry,
didn't come from you. They were made from your mama. They were
but at least
gifted to you.
they were given
Yeah.
from the grandmother and the grandmother before that, and so they're passed down and sort of overlaid to us. So we already know that in an essence because we are connected literally to an ancestral line that we can't count back from. Literal fish eggs, we pass on that caviar, and then the interesting thing is for me as a mother anyway that when those particular eggs were fertilized, I knew I was pregnant. I was already speaking to the energy that was connected to that egg that my body knew very well, my waters knew very well. And I was already exploring this other aspect that had to come in that I didn't know. I didn't know that sperm. I didn't know the coding of it. I didn't know. But as soon as it joined my being and entered into my literal sphere, the egg, I started to feel it build, and I started to feel also the wild cards in it that I don't know that part of you. I don't know that part. So as I was talking to this baby growing, each one of them, I
Yeah.
very much picked up on their personality. I picked up on what my personality was with them being different for each of them.
So did they
And
have a soul at that point? Are you
Yes.
yeah,
talking to the soul?
Yes.
it
You know,
was
yeah.
developing. I was talking to the fetus. I'm talking to the thing that is attached to that fetus, and I'm expressing that through there's a conduit
Well, some say the
connection.
theology that when that sperm with its code integrates into the mother's egg, that there is an explosion
There
in
is.
the ethereal realm, that is when the soul enters in. It's at that moment when that connection is made. And the soul takes its, you can say a spirit, however you want to do it, but the bonding time is not only with the mother, but it is also the spiritual aspect bonding now to a physical form, understanding the cells, how the cells communicate and then begin to divide. That's all part of us. That's in a part of that. If it wasn't for us in that essence, it wouldn't be taking place.
But
That's
something
just a
Trina
thought.
said, walk-ins are going to start to become even more prevalent now because of something you said, Wayne. So when Trina said walk-ins, that's another thing a few years ago I said it's going to keep increasing because you see, with AI, like you said, Wayne, that bridge, and I think Trina mentioned it too, of that being a very strong bridge, and there's so many connections now in that we are literally giving to the ethereal dates and times of where we were, when people were going to die, when people did die. The past and the present is all happening at the same time with those dates. I'm sure, they are going to increase the walk-ins, and I mean, multiple different species or AI, where they take over a consciousness of somebody, and we're going to start hearing people saying, "I don't recognize my loved one," because they recognize that that's not, the spirit isn't there. The person has passed over, and this walking has happened before they've passed over. So we're giving them a roadmap as well to be able to time travel more accurately into our space and time right now, because we're documenting it all. We're giving that all out to there's no privacy in the ethereal right now.
What was interesting in both of my pregnancies, I really wanted to know the child that was coming in. So I started to connect to them on the etherical levels. And both of my children come from totally different planetary systems. And I've had brief glimpses of both of their existences before they came in as my child. And they had a lot of planning that was anticipated for this lifetime. They both had very different plans of experiencing this lifetime, very different signatures of their energy, which was coming from the consciousness of where they had been in their most recent or most familiar parts of experiencing material realms. And interesting, one primarily is from near Boots, and the other one is near Andromeda. And those are totally different places with totally different energies and totally different souls. And it's all connected through those experiences of their soul that they came into this experiencing, wanted to experience here. And then the funny thing is when you come here, you don't remember any of what you are. So this is the most important thing I think we're trying to do now, is to remember what we truly are, because that's what has truly been hidden from us, is the vastness of what it means to have a soul, and what is the potential expressions, and what have you been utilizing the power of this divine, fractal of source of creation itself. So I think it's so big. I don't know if we can ever fully answer that, because consciousness is huge.
Well, I came in being a little bit of country and a whole lot of rock and roll. But anyway. All right, ladies, lively discussion. I love it because it is one of those things. I mean, um, my wife deals with the spirit of death all the time. And so, I have more of an opportunity to think about through her experience. There are good deaths, there's bad deaths, but anyway, there's still a death, and there's a departure of an essence, that which we say is consciousness, we say is soul, is spirit. We certainly seem to think or hope that our memories are intact to that. Um, yeah, and we'll continue to discuss this because if these things are on their way to happening, more chaotic, whether politics, world situations, completely in chaos, we're going to have our poop together.
Yeah, because the balance of chaos is order.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if
we're going
if
to need to
you
do next week. In fact, Jenny, I'd like us maybe to start out going to the forest again.
Yeah,
And,
that I
you
felt
know,
so many people there, you two included, and I've seen so many people's energies just going there and being present in the space. So it's been built in that space. It's been growing rapidly. So thank you to everybody who's been checking in with self in that space because you're growing a beautiful and bountiful forest. You really are. Um, and I think that's the main thing, Wayne, of perspective, that most of this chaos does not have to happen.
I
Most
don't
of
think it
this
does
chaos
either.
in an
Mm-mm.
effort and an
Mm-mm.
end for people to have more power. Um, and they haven't got vision. They've got long-term vision in long-term cycles of power. They haven't got vision as to infinite cycles of connection. And I do feel that if we could turn all of the divisionary tactics off for a week, that we would start to feel rumbles under our feet like horses still do, to know how deep the earth is that we're walking on, how safe it is. I do feel that we would feel the rain in a way that the worm does when it hits the ground. But there's so much layering on top of that, but the more connection with self, like in the forest, like the things Trina's spoken about so many times, the practices, they really are how you are the steadfast figure within chaos. And that really is actually how you build the foundations for the buildings going forward. You don't build foundations by just trying to salvage what you can in the storm. You build foundations by feeling rooted, grounded, and I think that's the. It sounds like the most simplistic form of creating order around us and within us. But to create that chain reaction of order, that would be a powerful, powerful thing.
Well,
In the
before you can
plans
have a foundation, you have to have a footing.
afoot in. Yeah, yeah.
Without a
And you have to
footing, you can't have a foundation.
Yeah, it's just like the roots of a tree.
Think about it. You have
yeah.
to have footing, on the. All right. Happy birthday, Lost in Space. I did not know it
Yeah.
was your
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
So, all right. Happy birthday to you. Another year around the old ball of fire. But have a good one, whatever you're doing, Lost in Space. We love you. And to everyone in the chat room, we got really deep in some deep discussions, and that's what we do here. I mean, every time we get into these things, well, as we were talking, my inner eye is seeing this rapid reversal of light and everything else coming to this singularity point of which this explosion came forth, and that's when I entered into this dimension.
Yes,
Good. That's how
because you got to
it's got.
condense the eye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. To a point of
That's what I
focus.
saw. I saw me literally
Yeah.
stepping through that. I don't know
Portal.
what it is. Yeah, whatever it is, it's a
Portal.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Theo said he decided that it was time, and he really did because he wanted to come out early, but he saw this. He was in a lot of blue and white, and then he focused the light in. It just turned all white all around him, and I feel that that was the explosion time.
Yes.
That he felt that nuclear bonding and so he was with me from the very get-go. Theo was a twin. And I
Mm.
actually carried his twin on my birthday, and they said I wasn't pregnant anymore. but I still knew my uterus lies right back. So it was difficult for them to see. He was only,
Yeah.
tiny, tiny.
Yeah.
So he was hiding. So even with the scope, they didn't see. But there are twins in my family, and so this twin, I knew this twin had gone. I knew that there hadn't been even a successful bonding, if you like. Maybe it had been fertilized, but the successful bonding hadn't happened. But I did know Theo would survive. I remember not worrying about it, that he would, maybe come away from me later, but he didn't. He stayed, and he said, I knew I was going to stay. He doesn't know the story around that. He doesn't know that, but he knew he had a twin. And he was quite all right with that twin being elsewhere, not in physical form. So it is deep, but he saw that
Deep,
very
deep.
much, that focused light coming in, like you, Trina, around Wayne.
All right, ladies.
Love
Love
you
you both.
all.
And
Mhm.
we'll be back next week. Thank you, everyone in the chat room. Let us know your thoughts. These are deep, deep things. I mean, yeah. All right. Much love, everyone. Have a fabulous week,
Mhm.
and I'll see you back tomorrow. No more snow. That's all I got to say. Thanks, ladies. Much love.